Star Wars: The Last Jedi is the second movie in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the 8th numbered Star Wars movie, and the 9th Star Wars movie overall when you count Rogue One. Now, if you all remember from my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2017, Star Wars: The Last Jedi was my number one. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. Obviously, we got Star Wars: The Force Awakens a couple years ago, a movie that I loved, I was very happy with, very pleased with, and I was very, very excited to see where else Star Wars was going to go from there. I've been looking forward to this movie since the final scene in The Force Awakens, and now it is finally here. I saw this movie on opening night, but as I do with most of my videos, I wanted to wait to get this spoiler review up, simply because I want to give people time to see this movie. That's the case with every spoiler talk I upload. I want to give people time to see it, but I especially wanted to do it here because it's Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Everyone and their mother wants to see this movie. Going into Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I also noticed it had a very high rating on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, so definitely inspired confidence that it was going to be a good movie. Rian Johnson, I also think, is an excellent director when it comes to sci-fi, so I thought he was a great choice to direct this movie. However, I got to say, in the days that this movie has been released, I've seen some reviews from other people who do YouTube channels. I read reviews from some normal everyday fans online, and I gotta say, Star Wars: The Last Jedi has been a surprisingly polarizing film. I haven't seen a whole lot of reviews from everyday people who loved the movie. I've seen a lot of reviews for people who liked the movie, and a very large amount of hate towards this movie. So naturally, now that I've seen it, now that I've done a lot of thinking towards it, I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on it. And seeing what a lot of people have said and how a lot of people have been reacting towards Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I may actually get a lot of hate for what I'm about to say. Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I thought, was awesome. I absolutely loved this film. So let me explain to you as specifically as I can why I love this movie so much and why I truly think it's a fantastic movie. That is an official spoiler warning. If you have not seen Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the first thing I'm going to ask is what the fuck is taking you so long? And the second thing I'm going to tell you is you've officially been warned. So obviously this movie's taking place not very long after The Force Awakens did. You see the First Order is still hunting down the Resistance. We see General Hux is leading one of the flagships. Looks like they found the Rebel base. And then you hear Poe Dameron get into contact with General Hux. And right here you see that these new Star Wars movies are rolling with a set of humor that we really haven't seen in Star Wars movies, and that's something I really like about it. He's speaking on the intercom with General Hux, and he's all like, "Hux, this is Poe. I want to speak with you." And he's like, "All right, what do you want?" It's like, "Can you hear me now?" It's like, "Are you there?" "No, seriously, can you hear me? I'm not hearing what you're saying." And Hux is like, "What's going on? Are we connected to him?" It's just a moment that really made me laugh. It's Poe Dameron doing something very simple that's distracting General Hux. It's providing humor for the movie, but you know it's leading to something bigger for the Resistance, and that's for them to come out in a surprise attack to take out some of the First Order's fleet. And Poe Dameron just storms out. He starts attacking various ships like the awesome pilot he is, and I just so love Poe Dameron, dude. I'm also very happy that we see a lot more of him here in The Last Jedi. One of the complaints that a lot of people, myself included, had with The Force Awakens is we didn't see a whole lot of Poe Dameron. In this movie, we see a lot of Poe Dameron. At first, Poe's just leading the squadron of rebel ships to attack the First Order to keep them distracted so the rebels can leave their base to get away from the First Order. At first, the plan is going very well. Leia is able to get all the rebels out of the base, you know, get them to safety. They're now on their way to get away from the First Order. So she then radios over to Poe, tells him, "All right, we got the rebels out of there. You can fall back now." But it's here we see where some of Poe's cockiness kind of comes into play, and he's all like, "Actually, no, we're gonna stay out. We got bomber ships. We got some great fighter pilots. Let's take out one of the First Order's flagships. Let's take out one of their best ships, send a message to them. It's going to help us in the long run." So yes, they pull it off. They do indeed destroy one of the First Order's ships. Unfortunately, though, it's at the cost of a lot of rebel soldiers. So yeah, Poe reunites with the rest of the rebels, and Leia, she's not particularly happy with him. She's like, "That was irresponsible, that was arrogant, and it resulted in a lot of these people dying. I'm demoting you. You need to learn how to be a true soldier." It's just a moment I do like seeing with Poe Dameron. You know, he has that, you know, really gun-ho kind of attitude. And, you know, it makes him kind of disobey orders. He's going to do what sometimes he feels is best. And naturally, you can't do that when you're part of something bigger. It's a moment I love with Poe. I like that he's not just some mindless soldier that's just in this movie for the sake of being there. He has his own mind. You know, he does what he feels is necessary for the greater good. Now let me get into Kylo Ren, because he's kind of sort of a big deal in this movie. You know, just a little bit. Because harkening back to The Force Awakens, what I love about Kylo Ren, what I feel makes him a great villain, is the fact that he is conflicted. Obviously, he wants to prove himself to Snoke. Obviously, he feels he's destined to become the next Darth Vader. But at the same time, you know that there is still good inside him. There's still light. And he's conflicted. There's this one great scene we see later on in the movie. Snoke sends Kylo Ren to lead a fleet of TIE fighters to destroy the rebel ship. Kylo Ren, he knows Leia's on that ship, and you know, he's got his hand on the trigger, he's ready to fire at it, but he can sense Leia on the ship. Leia can sense Kylo Ren on the TIE fighter, and it looks like Kylo Ren's gonna do it, but he doesn't. Unfortunately, that doesn't matter though, because a bunch of other TIE fighters swoop in and they destroy the ship. This unfortunately results in a lot of the rebel commanders dying, but in this moment, we finally see Leia use the Force for the first time ever. Okay, granted, there was that one moment in Empire Strikes Back, she spoke with Luke telepathically using the Force, kind of, but this is where you really see her use the Force. So she's kind of stuck out there in space, and you know, as she's floating there and she's dying, she's able to use the Force to kind of bring herself back into the rebel ship before she can suffocate and die. Which for me was really cool to see. I always wanted to see Leia finally use the Force for herself. Unfortunately though, that took a lot out of her. Obviously she was in space, so she's really weak from that. So you know, she comes back onto the ship, but she falls into a coma. So you know, they put her aside to get her taken care of. And now that leaves Vice Admiral Holdo to take over as the rebel commander. Actually, she doesn't have a very strong liking to Poe either. You know, Poe's trying to say, like, we should do this is how we should fight. And she's looking at him like, didn't you get demoted? Yeah. Your opinion is irrelevant to me. Just the way she was really condescending and snarky with Poe and some of the other rebel soldiers. Just wasn't a big fan of her at first. So now let's finally get to the remote island planet where Rey had met with Luke Skywalker at the very end of The Force Awakens. I want to say this scene right here picks up pretty much right where The Force Awakens left off. Rey approaches Luke to give him his old lightsaber. He does take it from her, but what I thought was actually really hilarious is he looks at it and he just throws it away. What I kind of like right there, without being really serious or really dark or anything like that, just quickly establishes right there, you can tell, yeah, Luke's gonna be a tough nut to crack. I gotta tell you right now, I was so happy Mark Hamill returned as Luke Skywalker. Of course, we saw him at the end of Force Awakens, but here he is in his full-fledged role as Luke Skywalker, and he is fantastic in this movie. Obviously, we've learned in Luke's story that, you know, he trained a new generation of Jedi. Kylo Ren was among these Jedi he was training. Then Kylo Ren turned on Luke, resulted in all the Jedi he trained dying. Luke feels he failed as a Jedi Master, put himself into exile. He has no interest to be a part of training any kind of Jedi again. He's like, it all just needs to end. And what I love seeing in Mark Hamill's portrayal of Luke in this movie is obviously we still see the elements of Luke that we loved from the original trilogy, but we also see that, you know, he's an older guy, he's a little more sarcastic, he's funny, he's stubborn, he's a little grumpy. You really do see the toll that the events with Kylo Ren has taken on him. And when Rey shows up, she tells Luke, like, you are the last hope for the Resistance. I need you to train me. I need you to come with me. That will help the Resistance. We'll be able to defeat the First Order. And all Luke says to her, it's like, I have no interest in that. It's time for the Jedi to end. However, we do get this one really nice moment between Luke and R2-D2. You know, he's just talking to R2. It's like, I don't know what to do anymore. And R2 shows him that old hologram of Princess Leia from the original Star Wars movie of, you know, her saying, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And what I love is Luke looks at R2 and he's like, alright, that was a cheap shot. And of course, that does delve into Luke's soft side a little bit. So he looks to her and he's like, alright, I'm going to give you 3 lessons. They'll teach you the ways of the Force, and it will also show you why the Jedi should end. It's also right around this time we start to see that there is some sort of connection between Kylo Ren and Rey. There are moments where the two of them are straight up using the Force to see each other and communicate with each other. They're just kind of talking to each other about their past, what they've learned with the Force, and what I love is both sides see corruption in one another. On one side, you see that Rey, even though she does feel Kylo Ren is a monster who killed his own father, she does feel there's good in him, that he can be brought back, that he can help the Resistance destroy the First Order. And on Kylo Ren's side, he sees that there is darkness in Rey, that she's leaning towards the darkness, that she wants to learn that side of the Force. It kind of reminds me of that line the Joker has in The Dark Knight when he says, "This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object." That's basically how it is with Kylo Ren and Rey. This was also an area of the Force we had never really seen before that I was really intrigued by. We never had really seen Force users be able to use the Force to, like, see someone physically and, you know, touch someone physically, even though they're, like, somewhere else entirely. There's that one moment when Kylo Ren has finished talking to Rey, you know, the communication with them has just separated. You see Kylo Ren's face is wet, because where Rey was, it was raining. And I gotta say, I love the moments where Luke is training Rey. You know, he's teaching her exactly what it means to feel the Force, you know, that the Force exists in all living things, that, you know, there's more to it than just lightness and darkness. But, you know, he also does see these moments where Rey is going towards the dark side of the Force a little bit. And at one point, he looks at her and he says, "I had seen this before in Kylo Ren. It didn't scare me then. It does now." We do at one point hear Luke tell Rey the story of what exactly did happen with Kylo Ren. Apparently, you know, he was training the Jedi. You know, he had seen that darkness in Kylo Ren. Didn't really think nothing of it. And at one point, he says Kylo Ren, you know, just turned on the Jedi, you know, burned down the temple, killed all of the fellow students, and became Kylo Ren. You know, back when he was still Ben Solo. But then at another point, when Rey and Kylo Ren are communicating with each other, Kylo Ren tells her, it's like, "What did he tell you?" And, you know, she tells him, you know, what Luke told her. And Kylo Ren says, like, "That's not what happened. What I remember was, I woke up, I saw Luke with his lightsaber drawn on me, ready to kill me. I felt Luke had turned against me. I felt the Jedi had turned against me. So with that, I attacked Luke. I killed the Jedi that were there. And I became who I am now." Which, of course, has Rey fucking pissed. Because now she's thinking, did Luke really actually try to kill Kylo Ren at first? And now it's finally at this point, Luke tells the whole truth. He was like, "Okay, when I did sense the darkness in Kylo Ren, I did draw my lightsaber. I contemplated killing him in my act of fear and irrationale. But I thought to myself, this is wrong. I'm not going to kill my nephew." Then Kylo Ren woke up, saw me with the lightsaber drawn, thought I was trying to kill him, and then he did what he did. I really liked seeing that story because you really do see, you know, the point that Kylo Ren came from. You see the point that Luke came from. And it did at a point have you wonder, it's like, well, then who's telling the truth? And essentially, in a way, they both were kind of right. But it's in that moment, Rey does begin to think to herself, it's like, Snow corrupted Kylo Ren. He's the one who got him to give in to the darkness. But it was ultimately a misunderstanding that drove Ben Solo to becoming Kylo Ren. There really must still be good in him. I'm going to leave this planet. I've learned what I've learned from you. I'm going to go see if I can bring Kylo Ren back. I think I can do it. But ultimately, yeah, Luke feels that Kylo Ren is a lost cause, and, you know, he still feels the Jedi needs to end, so he's prepared to burn down the temple, burn the old Jedi books. And then comes easily one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. You see Force Ghost Yoda show up, and what I love is it's not CGI Yoda, it's Puppet Yoda from Empire Strikes Back. I really love Puppet Yoda. Puppet Yoda is just the best. At first, Luke's like, "I can't do this. I'm not going to burn down the Jedi temple. I'm not going to burn down the books." But Yoda, you know, he just summons some lightning from the sky and he burns it down. And Luke's like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? You just burned down the old books, you know, the ancient lessons of the Jedi." And again, Yoda is just so wise and he's so humorous. He looks at Luke and is like, "Have you read them? Real page turners they are." And you can't help but feel Yoda knew that Luke needed his own mentor to come and talk to him, you know, remind him of his purpose. And what I love is Yoda dishes another very great line. You know, we all remember the, you know, "do or do not, there is no try." He does something very similar here. I can't remember exactly what he said, you know, in Yoda language anyway, but he ultimately says to Luke that the greatest teacher is failure. When I heard that in the theater, I'm just like, that couldn't be more true. That was such a Yoda thing to say. Yoda, this is why you're fucking awesome. Shit, I just realized I haven't talked about Finn at all in this video. I'm gonna do that right now. So ultimately, Finn has now awoken from his battle with Kylo Ren when he got, you know, sliced up the spine at the end of The Force Awakens. Nice to see he's walking again, though, because that did not look pretty. But anyways, the Resistance has now discovered that the First Order is tracking them through hyperspeed, which means that they can't run away from the First Order. They can't use hyperspeed to get away from them. First Order is just gonna track them. Eventually, they're gonna run out of fuel to use hyperspeed, which means at one point, they're literally going to be sitting ducks. The First Order is just going to be able to kill them. After the attack that Kylo Ren led, there's not much of the resistance left. It's basically down to this one ship. If this ship is destroyed, this war is over. The First Order will have won. However, Finn, BB-8, and this mechanic named Rose, they've all discovered that there's this tracking device on the flagship for the First Order that's ultimately tracking them through hyperspeed. And then the three of them learn in a video message from Maz Kanata that if they go to the planet Canto Bight and find this hacker that she knows who's supposed to be really, really smart and really good and bring him to that flagship, he can disable that tracking device, which will allow the rebels to ultimately get away from the First Order. Now, getting to Rose, she's obviously one of the new characters in The Last Jedi, and I gotta say, I really liked her character. For starters, I really love hearing her side of the story, why she is in this war fighting against the First Order. I mean, for one, we see her crying when we first see her because it turns out her sister was on one of the ships that Poe was leading in the attack against the First Order. Her sister died. So, you know, she now has more of a reason to fight against the First Order. But now let's get to the segment when Rose, BB-8, and Finn are all on the planet Canto Bight. Because from a lot of the reviews I've read and the reviews that I have watched, this was, for a lot of people, the biggest weakness in The Last Jedi. For a lot of people, they felt this side story with Finn and Rose was really dragged on, really boring, really unnecessary, was something that didn't ultimately lead to anything. I'm gonna say this right now, if you really hated the side story of Finn and Rose on Canto Bight, if you really didn't like it, you felt it just dragged the movie down a little too much for you, I do understand. Although, I will say for me, although it is probably my least favorite part of the movie, it really didn't compromise The Last Jedi for me. And I'm going to explain why. When the three of them are on this planet and they're kind of exploring a lot of it and they're trying to find the hacker, Finn, on one hand, is just admiring it. He thinks it's beautiful. He thinks it's amazing. And we hear from Rose a little bit more of the reason to why she's fighting this war against the First Order. Because it's people on this planet who kind of support war because it's these rich beings, these rich people who benefit from selling weapons to the First Order, to the Resistance. You know, it's people who capitalize on war, who get rich from it. Alright, some people just forget to acknowledge the fact that, I mean, obviously it's a Star Wars saga, you know, war is a big part of it. We've never really seen, you know, how people get money from benefiting from war. We've never really seen that explored in a Star Wars movie. That's obviously touched upon in real life when war is happening. There are countries, there are people who benefit from making money off of, you know, profiteering weapons. We've never really seen that in a Star Wars movie, so it really kind of, it made it feel a little more real and relatable. If nothing else, because this side story really shows how war brings out the corruption in the rich and powerful. So at one point, they're on this planet, they find Benicio del Toro, who's unfortunately not the hacker that they're looking for, but he claims that he is a hacker who can do what needs to be done. So, you know, they free him from his jail cell. They get freed from their jail cell by BB-8, because BB-8's the fucking man, or the fucking droid, or whatever he is. He's just awesome. But what I love is before they leave, because Rose obviously has, you know, her issues and her grudge with this planet, and she knows this planet is corrupted, she really wants to hit home. She kind of wants to just punch it in the face for doing what it's been doing to basically help this war go on. At one point, she saw these animals getting mistreated. She saw these kids that were basically used as a labor force to, you know, treat these animals and care for these animals so they could be experimented on. At one point, she and Finn, they free these animals, they help these kids, and, you know, they let these animals go off free. Which, you know, for some people maybe didn't really flow really well with the movie. A lot of people maybe felt it was misplaced. I don't know. For me, I didn't mind it. Again, maybe it's just because I'm an animal lover and I love seeing animals be freed. But I just love seeing that determination in Rose. She's like, I want everyone who is involved in this war, those who want to bring out the evil and, you know, want to pursue the malicious things in war, I want them to feel it. I want to make them pay for it. I want to hit them where they hurt. You see that Rose is just someone who is so ready to fight for truth and justice. She wants this war to end so there can be peace in the galaxy. I loved seeing that in her. And me personally, if it wasn't for this side story, I don't think we would have learned much about Rose. So for me, even though it wasn't maybe my favorite part of the movie, I got it. I understood it. It didn't compromise the movie for me. And it really showed the heart in this great character that is Rose. So now Finn and Rose, they bring Benicio del Toro to the flagship. Unfortunately, they get captured by Captain Phasma because it turns out Benicio del Toro, he turned on them because, you know, Captain Phasma offered him a better price. And now getting back to the rebels for a minute, at this point, Poe has just had enough with Holdo. At one point, she's ordering the rebels escape to go to a new rebel planet to hide, which he believes is an act of cowardice, so he orders a mutiny on her. Because, you know, obviously he wants to hit the First Order where they hurt, you know, he wants to attack them, he just doesn't want to flee. However, it's at this point Leia wakes up, you know, she stuns Poe, she's just like, yeah, we just can't go with your method, dude. You do realize, however, that I guess Holdo was personally chosen by Leia to take over this mission in the event Leia ever got hurt or got killed or whatever it might be, and that the actual plan is for them to go to this rebel planet, you know, be able to hone in on the alliance that they have outside of, you know, the initial resistance, bring them in, and at that point they'll have a fighting chance against the First Order. And at this point, you know, the rebels, they started escaping in their ships, but Holdo, she stays behind on the flagship for the resistance to hold off the First Order. And now we get into what is not only some of the best action scenes in The Last Jedi, these are some of the best action scenes I have ever seen in the Star Wars saga. At one point, Finn and Rose are about to be publicly executed. Captain Phasma especially wants Finn dead because she still sees him as a traitor. But luckily, BB-8 shows up because he's just saving everyone's ass in this movie. He's piloting one of the AT-ATs. He's taking out a bunch of stormtroopers, a bunch of people with it. And this allows Finn to get one of those electric, awesome weapons that the stormtroopers were using at one point. He gets into an all-out brawl with Captain Phasma. And he's just going toe-to-toe with her. At one point, he takes a thing and he just smacks her upside the head with it, breaks her fucking helmet. And because of the damage that's going on, the ship they're on, it's pretty much falling apart, you know, she's gonna fall into a fire, but before she does, she looks over at Finn with her broken helmet, she's like, you're scum. And he looks down and he's like, I'm rebel scum. And she just falls to her fiery death. I'm a little surprised we didn't get to see much more of her in this movie, but I did like she went out that way. I like that it was ultimately Finn that finished her. But at this point, Rey has finally also boarded the First Order's flagship. You know, she has been brought to Snoke by Kylo Ren. And here Snoke is completely taunting, you know, Rey. He's also kind of taunting Kylo Ren. It's like, that mental connection, that had nothing to do with you two. I did that. I made that between you two, so you would come here so I could get Luke Skywalker out of you. And right here, you do see how powerful Snoke is. I mean, he's straight up using the Force to torture the fuck out of Rey. You know, he's able to easily use the Force to take her lightsaber from her. At this point, you know, he has Rey basically at his and Kylo Ren's mercy. It looks to Kylo Ren and he says, do it. Complete your training. Kill her. If you are among the Knights of Ren, fulfill your destiny, become the new Darth Vader, destroy her. And you see Kylo Ren activate his lightsaber. Looks like he's gonna kill Rey. Then all of a sudden, you see him moving his fingers very subtly because you notice that Rey's lightsaber is right next to Snoke, and what does he do instead? Activates Rey's lightsaber, and he slices Snoke the fucking half with it and kills him. Which, when I saw happen in theaters for the first time, I went, holy fucking shit, did that just happen? And now at this point, the Praetorian Guards, they all come after Kylo Ren, they come after Rey. Kylo Ren gets Rey her lightsaber back, and this scene, Kylo Ren and Rey are teaming up, they're battling these guys with their lightsabers, they're taking them all out one by one, and it is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, fine, that's me being prisoner of the moment, but it was so cool. It's, in my opinion, the greatest lightsaber fight that wasn't a lightsaber fight, if that makes sense. Just the way the two of them are working together, the way the two of them are killing each of these guys left and right. At one point, Rey throws Kylo Ren her lightsaber and he activates it and it just stabs one of these guys straight through the fucking head. Oh, it's just perfect. So now it's right here. Rey feels, and I honestly felt at this moment, that Kylo Ren has decided, yep, I'm gonna turn good. I'm pulling a Return of the Jedi now and not in the third movie. You know, he's gonna be like, let's work together. Let's help the rebels. Let's help the resistance. Let's bring down the First Order. But no, at this point, Kylo Ren says to Rey, he's like, listen, the resistance is a lost cause. You have to let it die. Luke Skywalker, we have to let him die. I have overthrown Snoke. I can be the new supreme leader. I want you to rule by my side, and we will create a new, better empire in the galaxy. I need you, Rey. Join me. And at this point, Rey is horrified. She truly thought there was good in Kylo Ren. It turns out he just needed her to, you know, overthrow these guards. He wants her to become evil. He wants to rule the galaxy because he wants to be the true supreme leader. Of course, Rey, she absolutely wants no part of it. So at one point, you know, she uses the Force to get her lightsaber back. But, you know, Kylo Ren's fighting her on it. You see them fighting over the lightsaber with the Force in midair. Eventually, you truly do see the two are pretty well evenly matched. Eventually, the lightsaber just splits in half and Rey just escapes from the ship. It's just another great moment with Kylo Ren and Rey. These moments, dude, these just get better and better. I can't wait to see what episode 9 is gonna hold. But now, of course, General Hux, he comes, he sees what happened to Snoke, and he's just like, what happens now? What do we do? And Kylo Ren just starts force choking him, and he's like, look at me. I'm the supreme leader now. At this point, you're just like, oh shit, Kylo Ren means business now. Yeah, his first order is to take out the rebel ships that are escaping, you know, destroy the resistance once and for all. And here we get the moment with Holdo when she realizes, in fact, that, you know, the rebel ships, they're going to die. Every single person that's still a part of the resistance, they're all going to be killed unless she does something. And then from here, we get another scene that looked amazing, that was amazing. The scene was just, it's fantastic. She directs the ship right at the First Order, and, you know, she uses light speed to charge straight at it. And what I love is you hear no sound, you hear no impact, nothing. At the speed of light, she drives straight through the First Order ships, and she splits basically all of them in half. Not even kidding. In my theater, when you see that happen for the first time, I could have heard a pin drop. And it's even in that moment I was like, alright, you know what, Holdo? You're alright. However, the First Order's flagship is still functioning, it still survives, so it goes to follow the rest of the resistance that has landed on the planet Crate. Finn, BB-8, Rose, they've all reunited with the resistance. Finn's reunited with Rey. Chewie's also shown up with R2 and the Millennium Falcon, so the whole crew now is pretty much back together. But the First Order has now arrived on this planet, and they've revived on it with a fucking battering ram cannon that's prepared to destroy the rebel base entirely. And ultimately, Poe, Finn, and Rose, they know the only shot they have is to use these old speeders that they have on an assault on the battering ram cannon so the rest of the resistance can get away. So at this point, the three of them, a bunch of other rebels, they go out for an all-out assault on it, but literally they're no match for anything. The First Order is just taking them all out one by one. Poe eventually falls back because he knows there's nothing that can be done to stop it, but Finn, he's not giving up. He's like, nope. Not without a fight. I'm not falling back. And he is charging the battering ram cannon full speed as this thing is charging up, you know, prepared to destroy the rebel base. And you hear the music kicking on. You see the look of bravery and determination in Finn's face as he's charging at this cannon. And I'm sitting there like, I think he's gonna go through with this. I really actually thought Finn was gonna die right there. I'm not even kidding. But then out of nowhere, Rose and her speeder, she knocks Finn out of the way because, you know, she doesn't want to see Finn die. She's, of course, badly wounded because, you know, she just crashed her speeder. And Finn's looking at her. It's like, why did you save me? Why did you do that? And she looks at him and she says, we are gonna win this war by saving the ones we love. And then just before, you know, she falls unconscious, she kisses Finn. However, I did notice in this moment that Finn didn't really kiss her back. He was kind of just taken aback. It's like, oh, whoa, she just kissed me. Because we all know Finn's not really in love with Rose. We all know who he's really in love with. Her name does start with I, but it's not Rose. So now it's at this point, you know, everything appears like it's going to be a lost cause. It looks like the resistance is finally at the First Order's mercy. But then you see Luke show up in the base. You know, he talks to the resistance. He talks to Leia, and he says, Leia, I have to go out there. I have to face your son. You know what's about to happen. And Leia, at this point, she has finally accepted that her son is gone. He's a lost cause. He can't be turned back. He truly is the supreme leader now. There's nothing that can be done. He's an enemy. He needs to be stopped. One moment I did like, just before Luke goes to confront Kylo Ren, you see C-3PO. He looks at Luke and he's like, Master Luke. And then Luke just winks at him. It's a nice little subtle moment between the two of them that I really liked. And now we get into what is probably the most memorable scene in the whole movie. Luke just comes out there. Kylo Ren sees Luke and he's just like, I mean, obviously he's scared. He's confused. And his first instinct, he looks at General Hux and he says, fire everything onto that man. And of course, the First Order just fires everything they got onto Luke Skywalker. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, I don't think he's dead. I do love that line that Hux says to Kylo Ren. He's like, so you think you got him? And then you see Luke just step out of this cloud of dust completely unharmed, and he does the most savage thing he can do to Kylo Ren. He just looks up at him and he goes, I'm like, add that to the million list of things that I love about Luke Skywalker. And finally, at this point, Kylo Ren's like, bring me down to him. And what I do love seeing is, you know, Luke, of course, tries to talk to Kylo Ren. He tries to reason with him. He's like, I'm sorry, I failed you. And of course, Kylo Ren's just like, whose fault was that? And what I love about this moment is just, you know, it's awesome good and it's awesome evil, just talking with each other for a little while. I love those moments of dialogue in any movie. At one point, Luke says to Kylo Ren, it's like, you can kill me right here. But let's face it, if you do, I will haunt you for the rest of your life, just like your father. I love at that moment, you see it in Kylo Ren's eyes, you see the anger, you see the hatred. He activates his lightsaber, Luke activates his. Kylo Ren's ready to draw blood. He wants to kill Luke right now. And you know, the whole time, you know, he's swinging at Luke. Luke's evading all the attacks. Luke's strangely not attacking him in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the whole time, he's toying with Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's just losing his mind. He's losing his temper. He is losing his shit over this. But Kylo Ren, at this point, in anger, he just says, it's something along the lines of, it's like, I will win this war, I will destroy the Resistance, and I will destroy the Last Jedi, you. And Luke kind of alludes to something he said to Rey earlier in the movie. He's like, everything you said is wrong. You will not win. The Resistance will live on forever. And I will not be the last Jedi. And at this point, Kylo Ren just slices his lightsaber along Luke, but Luke doesn't die. Luke's still, he's perfectly fine. And at this point, Kylo Ren, he just easily just takes his lightsaber, just pushes it through Luke, and still nothing. And it's in this moment you discover that Luke is still on that remote planet and he's been using the Force to make a projection of himself to fight Kylo Ren. And at this point, Kylo Ren finally realizes that this was all just a distraction by Luke so the Resistance could escape. Which of course Rey had a little help in moving all the rocks that were barricading the Resistance in because, you know, she can use the Force really awesomely now because she's amazing. And what I love, the last thing Luke says to Kylo Ren before it's all over, he just goes, see you around, kid. And he just disappears. Yeah, his hologram disappears, and then you see on the planet that Luke's body has disappeared. It appears kind of like how it was with Yoda and with Obi-Wan. His body has become one with the Force. I believe, you know, with that projection, because it took a lot of power out of him, it ultimately is what killed him. And at this point, you know, Rey, you know, tells Leia, it's like, I felt it with Luke. He died in peace with that. And, you know, Leia now feels it's like, what just happened? That was the spark we needed. We can beat the First Order. And then we get to the very final moment in this movie, and it's a moment that really no one has touched on, but again, I feel it's something that makes the side story on Canto Bright with Finn and Rose a little more relevant. You see this little boy who was among one of the kids that Finn and Rose were helping when they, at the same time, freed the animals that were on Canto Bright. He steps outside, goes to get a broom, and he uses the Force to get the broom, just starts sweeping normally, and then he's looking up into space, and you know, he's holding the Resistance emblem that Rose had given to him, and just the way he's holding his broom, he's holding it kind of like a lightsaber, and you just see him looking up into the sky with hope, with determination, I don't know, with like the urge, like he wants to fight. I don't really know what it is, but the second that kid used the Force to get the broom, my jaw dropped. I'm just like, oh my, is he a Jedi? Are we gonna see him in episode 9? Well, is he a character that's gonna play into movies later on? What the fuck? I gotta say, these new Star Wars movies, man, they're good at ending on cliffhangers. So all in all, I gotta say, Star Wars The Last Jedi, it was awesome. It was fantastic. It was everything I honestly wanted it to be. The characters in this movie are fantastic. I love seeing Mark Hamill return as Luke Skywalker. I love the role that he played in this movie as a mentor to Rey, being a damaged character, feeling like the Jedi should end, and then slowly realizing the role he has to play in the Resistance. I love that we got more of Poe Dameron in this movie. I like his gun-ho attitude. I love that he has this determination to bring down the First Order. Carrie Fisher was great as Leia in this movie. May she rest in peace. It's sad that we will not get to see her in the next movie, but this was her final movie role. She knocked it out of the park. I love seeing the character development that continues to grow with Finn. I like seeing that he's more prepared to make the sacrifices that he might have to make if he's gonna fight the First Order. And also when it comes to character development, I love seeing Rey become the Jedi that she is destined to be. I love seeing the character development that goes on with Kylo Ren in, you know, him becoming eventually the new supreme leader, him feeling that it is his destiny to lead the First Order to destroy the Resistance and take over the galaxy. And yeah, the moments between Kylo Ren and Rey, whether it was them, you know, talking with the Force or when they were in person together, it's just moments that I will remember for years and years and years and years to come. I really did like Rose as a new character. She really did bring a lot of heart into this movie. The humor in this movie really worked. There were quite a few funny moments throughout it. You know, the music, the score, it's all just amazing. The visuals, the movie is visually a spectacle. I mean, if this movie's not up for the Academy Award for visual effects, I will be very surprised. Seriously, there were just some moments I'm looking at, I'm just like, this is just beautiful to look at. The action scenes, oh my gosh. I could rave about the action scenes all day long. They really are some of the best I have ever seen in a Star Wars movie. And yeah, I'm gonna say this right now. The Porgs, they were cute and they were good comic relief. I'm just very, very happy they did not become a modern day version of the Ewoks. And I gotta say, the biggest complaint I've been hearing with The Last Jedi has been that it feels too different as a Star Wars movie. A lot of the fans are really upset that it doesn't follow your stereotypical Star Wars formula. This movie takes you on a lot of twists and turns. The story does not follow exactly how you think it's gonna go along. You know, you may think that Snoke is going to play the role that maybe the Emperor played in the original trilogy and even in the prequel trilogy. That's not the case. Maybe you think Kylo Ren is going to learn the error of his ways and he's going to, you know, be like Darth Vader and he's going to turn good at some point. Again, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. I think just a lot of fans really hated that this was something very different for them. A lot of people just want Star Wars to be old-fashioned. They want Star Wars to be what it's known for being. In my case, I loved seeing everything that was different about it. I loved seeing the changes that were here. Don't get me wrong, I loved Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was fantastic. It was amazing. But I could not ignore the fact that it did have a lot of very similar plot elements to the original Star Wars movie. And while that didn't upset me, I mean, I could not ignore that that was a thing. And there were some fans out there that were very upset with that. Here, we are getting something brand new, something we've never seen in a Star Wars movie, which is exactly what I wanted The Last Jedi to be as a sequel. So now, when I hear fans saying like, this is too different, this is all strange, this isn't Star Wars, what is this? It honestly is beginning to have me wonder that there are some fans out there that just cannot be pleased. And that's why I'm going to say right now, if you can embrace change and you can go into Star Wars The Last Jedi simply expecting a good movie, I think you'll walk out really, really enjoying it, even loving it. Star Wars The Last Jedi was everything I wanted it to be. I said in my anticipation list that I was hoping that The Last Jedi could be The Force Awakens, what The Empire Strikes Back was to Star Wars, and be a sequel that's just that much better. And in my humble opinion, The Last Jedi did that. I can't rave over this movie enough, you guys. I loved it. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. May the Force be with you all.